Weather Channel, your local forecast. This is WeatherScope.
A dynamic storm spreading from the plains to the southeast is causing a mixture of weather conditions, including snow, sleet, and heavy rain on this Christmas Eve. Good evening and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Terry Smith. We'll have the details on where the storm is headed for Christmas Day. But first, here's Jeff Marr with a look at what's happening now. Jeff.
Yeah, over the river, through the woods, whether you're going to Grandma's house, I hope you're where you want to be right now because we do have some travel problems in many areas of the Midwest and eventually as we head into Christmas morning, even up into the Northeast. We're talking some snow, some sleet, and some freezing rain thrown in there as well. Let's show you, first of all, what it looked like earlier today in and around Chicago. Yeah, the big city, windy city of Chicago was kind of wet. Now, it was really hard to get the snow to stick on the road surfaces, but it did lend a little bit of a kind of a festive air to those last-minute Christmas shoppers out and about here. About 2 inches officially now at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Looks like a lot of the heavier snow is now lifted to the north and to the northwest of the city. Here's the whole storm in a big comma shape here. I mean, this is a classic swirl, if you will, and also some dry air, which we'll talk about in a moment, wrapping around the south side of this storm, effectively kind of cutting off the precipitation in places like southeast of Chicago and in Detroit. Most of this is rain along the East Coast, but we do have some snow and ice to talk about, and there's some of the tallies. Marion, Iowa leading this list at 8 inches, Des Moines ending up with about 4. And there's O'Hare, Chicago at about 2 inches. Milwaukee still snowing at about 2 inches. Joining me now here in the Forecast Center, senior meteorologist Colin Marquis, and Christmas Eve storm. Nice to look at, but if you have to travel in it, it's a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, some would say that this is only, you would expect this type of weather somewhere, and a lot of people are probably happy about it. But really, in all seriousness, I think travel conditions, particularly north and west of Chicago, up toward Milwaukee now, and even in sections of southern Michigan, real slow going and real slippery conditions at this point, and it'll continue to be that way right on through the evening hours.
Yeah, we could end up with a half a foot of snow in some places before it's all said and done. Let's go ahead and show you what we're talking about here. This is the current weather map, and Colin, again, all our white on this map north of the low. This is all snow up here, ending a little bit in Iowa now, but still going strong in parts of the Great Lakes.
Yeah, from about Milwaukee across the lake over toward Grand Rapids, that's where the best lifting in the atmosphere is occurring right now, and therefore that's where the heaviest snowfall is right now. Now, as this low continues to move off to the east and northeast, it's going to weaken as it does so, as it heads on toward the Great Lakes and eventually on toward the Northeast. So latest thinking here is that as much snow as we did have, and we saw up to 8 inches of snow in portions of Iowa and Illinois. I don't think we're going to see quite that much as we're talking Wisconsin, perhaps in the northern portions of Michigan. Maybe 4 or 5 inches, but I don't think we're going to see 8 or 9 up that way.
Also wanted to point out on this particular radar, we see a little bit of a dry slot here. Drier air punching in from the south. That's effectively cutting off the precipitation on the south side of Chicago and Detroit. Will that continue?
Yeah, we've been watching this northward progression of the dry slot all afternoon and evening. And I keep saying that as the low pressure system moves eastward at the same time that we're drawing this dry slot northward, eventually we're going to have to cut off the northward transport of the dry air, and that will happen. And it's just about reached its northern terminus now. It may go a few more miles further north, but not too much.
Okay, and here is Chicago. Just got word from Mike Seidel, just handed this to me, that snow removal crews are working feverishly trying to clear a second runway, and they have delays up to 75 minutes with an average delay of 40 minutes. So last-minute holiday travelers still a problem here, and it looks like just west of Chicago out here toward Joliet, it still might be snowing pretty hard.
Yeah, I haven't checked the latest odds out of Aurora, but I think from on the west side of town we are probably experiencing some heavier snowfall. However, southeast down toward Gary, actually some drizzle. Interestingly enough, when the precipitation rates fall off, oftentimes with marginal temperatures, you'll go back to liquid precipitation, and that's what's happened down southeast of town.
All right, now this is in the Midwest, but in the Northeast, Colin, we're talking about maybe some snow and some ice up here, and maybe a little sleet and freezing rain thrown in there. Some colder air perhaps getting trapped in some of these valleys?
In some of the valleys, some of the deeper valleys, northern Appalachia, definitely cause for problem as far as icing. This precipitation, by the way, all this out here is not reaching the ground, but the precipitation comes in like gangbusters, and so there will be several hours. By the way, it's pretty narrow in scope, though. It doesn't last very long, but for a time there can be some problems as far as glazing.
All right, it looks like places like Boston and Hartford might be a little sleet or freezing rain at the beginning and then go to rain?
Yeah, it looks like this will begin the wee hours of the morning for southern New England, obviously earlier as you head farther and farther west and south, but temperatures are going to be marginal, so the big cities, Boston, Hartford, a quick period of icing, more so as you head toward Worcester and Concord, for instance.
But up in the mountains, looks like some of the ski resorts getting some Christmas snow, and we just mentioned the snow, of course, back here in the Midwest. All right, Colin Marquis, thank you again on this Christmas Eve. Nice of him to stop in and keep us updated, and we'll keep you updated too. And if you want to check us out at your website, if you don't have access, that was Terry, and we'll throw to her in just a moment. You can check us out at weather.com. Now we'll go to Terry Smith, and she has a look at the rest of the nation's weather. Terry, also a look at the forecast tomorrow, right?
That's right, Jeff. I guess we're into sneak previews this evening.
On the Weather Channel, your local forecast.